Hey, how's it going on, my fellow quarantiners? Hope all you guys are safe, healthy, and have toilet paper stocked up and haven't resorted to using socks or your favorite pet's fur yet. Now, if you're watching this, you've probably seen the title and are wondering, what the hell do I mean when I say Uncharted ruined The Last of Us Part 2? Well, let me explain. So most of you have probably already read or at least know of the Kotaku article where they dive deep into the crunch culture of Naughty Dog and know that the development of Uncharted 4 was hell for a lot of developers over the years working on that game. Now, one part of that article that stuck out to me the most was when they said something about 14 of the 20 non-lead developers left Naughty Dog after Uncharted 4 was complete, and how that had wide-ranging effects on the development of The Last of Us Part 2. And after that article, one of the ex-Naughty Dog devs that worked on Uncharted 4 and even The Last of Us Part 2, Jonathan Cooper, said something that paired with that statement, saying a more senior team would have shipped Part 2 a year ago. Now, in your mind, 14 devs might not seem like a lot, but those were 14 very skilled devs who knew how Naughty Dog worked. And because of their departure, they had to be replaced with less experienced devs who've never worked at Naughty Dog before. So those inexperienced devs had to be trained and learn how everything worked there, which I'm sure took months. Months that the skilled devs could have spent working on Part 2, which would mean the game could have released in fall of last year, or at the very least on its first initial release date of February 21st. And that means we would have had the game a few weeks before the pandemic took over and started causing all the lockdowns and quarantining. Which would have been good for the fans because we'd be playing the damn game right now, and for the devs because they would have proper time off while at home with their families quarantining and could relax for the next month instead of working on the damn game still. And what really sucks is, for some reason, Naughty Dog thought after Uncharted 4 was done, it was a good idea to put a good chunk of the team on Lost Legacy, which from what I read was even more stressful than Uncharted 4's development. And in my opinion, the Lost Legacy was pointless, and it shouldn't have even been made. I know a lot of Uncharted fans probably loved it, and I'm sure it was a great game, but Uncharted 4 should have been the last Uncharted in the series. Every dev that worked on it should have been put on The Last of Us Part 2, not a spin-off game in the Uncharted series. And one of the lead devs on Lost Legacy was Kurt Montague, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but you know who I'm talking about, who ended up also being a lead dev on The Last of Us Part 2. Now imagine if him and the rest of the Lost Legacy team had been working on Part 2 from the start instead. The game would have most definitely hit its February 21st release date, and we wouldn't all be stressed out wondering if it's going to be released digitally or if it's going to be released in the fall or if it's going to be pushed all the way to 2021. We'd already be playing it, we'd be beating it on all the different difficulties, we'd be finding all the Easter eggs and collectibles, having conversations about the characters and the ending, and things would be pretty damn great in quarantine right now. But because 14 veteran devs left Naughty Dog, and because they decided to put a portion of the team on Lost Legacy, Part 2 couldn't be finished in time. And now the release date is in limbo. And because of how much worse this pandemic seems to be getting, we may not even get it this year. Hell, we may not get any other AAA release this year. Everything might get pushed to 2021 or 2022, which would mean the last two big games to release this year are Resident Evil 3 and Final Fantasy 7, which aren't even really new games, they're just remakes of old games. And this shit sucks. I mean, we're all going to be stuck in quarantine, forced to play the same games over and over again with no new games to look forward to. And it really makes me wish video games went all digital years ago. That way games that are gold or going gold could still be released with no delays required. And this makes me think about the future consoles. Not their release date, but their game technology. And I'm about to say something probably 99.9% of you won't agree with, but I think video game technology has hit its prime. I feel like there's no need to advance it from here. No need for new technology and no need for new consoles. Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us Part 2 are proof that the more advanced technology gets, the harder it is and longer it takes to develop because of how realistic everything needs to be. Which is not only bad for the devs who have to spend 12 or more hours a day working their asses off to finish the games, but also bad for the fans because we're stuck waiting years and years for games we want to play. And then they get release dates, and then they get pushed, and then they get release dates, and then they get pushed. It's because of how realistic everything's got to be. I mean, in the PS2 and OG Xbox days, games took between 1 or 2 years to develop. There was still crunch back then, but very minimal compared to nowadays. For example, back then we got GTA 3. A year later we got GTA Vice City, and 2 years after that we got GTA San Andreas. GTA fans didn't have to wait long for sequels, and fans of other games didn't have to wait long for sequels either. Then video game technology advanced with the PS3 and Xbox 360, so after San Andreas, we had to wait 4 years to get GTA 4. Then after that, we had to wait 5 years to get GTA 5. Now, from the looks of it, we probably won't be getting GTA 6 until 2022 or 2023, which is basically a decade after GTA 5. Now, imagine how long after GTA 6 we're going to have to wait to get GTA 7. Probably over 10 years. And I know I'm using open world games as an example, but as you can see with The Last of Us Part 2, even linear games take 4 or 5 years to develop right now with current technology. So with the further advancements in tech, that's going to mean probably an extra 2 years of development on top of what it already takes to develop a game now will be needed for games coming to PS5 and the new Xbox. I mean, sure, games will definitely look better in the future, but are games looking better really worth having to wait half a decade or more to play them? Do we really need to get to the point where we can't tell the difference between real life and video games? I don't think so. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is proof a game can look amazing and realistic and give you tons of things to do and places to explore on current gen technology. So why do we need another $500 console? Why not just keep making games for the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, whatever the hell you want to call it? I just don't get it. I'd honestly be cool with Part 2 looking the same as Part 1 because Part 1 remastered looks great. I play games for the story and gameplay anyway. Plus, I'm not a graphics whore like some of the gamers these days who complain about puddles and snow deformation. I mean, hell, the most popular games right now are Fortnite, Valorant, Animal Crossing, Minecraft, etc. And they all look like they could have been released in the PS2 days. So it seems like a lot of gamers are cool with games not looking so lifelike. I mean, I personally don't like any of those games, not because of the way they look, but because of the gameplay loops in those games. But yeah, those are just my unpopular opinions. And I'm just speaking on how I see things from my point of view. Lost Legacy was a waste of Naughty Dog developers' time that could have been spent on Part 2, and new video game tech is only going to cause more turmoil for developers because of harder work required to make everything look perfect, which therefore means longer work days and longer development cycles. And because us fans have to wait too many years to play those new games. And if you don't like my thoughts, that's cool. I respect that. Just be sure to put your thoughts down below on what you think about this topic. I may or may not read the comments though, because I read online there were more potential Part 2 leaks, so I'm worried I might end up seeing a Part 2 spoiler and have the game ruined. So I've been avoiding reading comments on Last of Us related videos lately, just in case. I mean, even though I do have my theories as to what happens and who I think dies, I still don't want any of it confirmed until I actually play the game for myself. But anyways, stay safe and stay home, guys. Don't go out risking catching that coronavirus, because you're going to want to live long enough to play Part 2. Sayonara, motherfuckers.